Welcome to my top anime for the summer season. My apologies for the prolonged time it took to make this, and a quick disclaimer is that I've only watched the first 4 episodes of the season, which is what this list will be based upon. So, with no further delay, let's start the countdown. 5. Raka no Yuusha has a straightforward setup uniting 6 unique people to become heroes and venture off into seizing the margin. From what I've seen so far, the anime has a solid promise for what is to come, especially as there is a 7th hero among the 6. Therefore, throughout the show, there will be suspicions and conflicts amongst the whole group. So far, the action is most certainly entertaining, especially with how everything is choreographed within each and every battle. The story is a work in progress, so it's particularly tricky to judge how good it is from just leaving the show, and it's just about set up from where I left it. The characters on the other hand are pretty standard, albeit the main character Adlet seems to have learned practically everything out there for any battle by his mysterious sensei, so hopefully no cliche training episodes for this anime. And of course Fremi is the most intriguing of them all, as she hunts and takes down potential members of the 6 heroes, and therefore being one of the members of the 7 heroes definitely raises suspicion on whether or not she's the traitor, therefore leaving me with much dire thirst to find out what her true backstory is in all of this. Although I doubt we may get an explanation this season, as the anime is only running at 12 episodes, and so far the anime has yet to disappoint me in any way, although establishing an attachment to every character may prove to be difficult given how much episodes we actually have here and no confirmation of a season 2. Overall, if you want some good action and some mystery, then Raka no Yuusha should definitely suffice. 4. Charlotte is a PA Works anime I've been eagerly anticipating, with the studio always trying to blend in the supernatural with a slice of life blend within it. In Charlotte's case, so far it has for sure gotten my interest at the moment. The plot itself is somewhat intriguing, with the student council hunting down espers to prevent them from any abductions and experimentations done by an organization that will leave the user either traumatized or utterly worthless. The comedy itself has become more of a hit than misses, so points to that in my count. And my only real downfall with the show is how our main character seems rather bland to me, despite making things different personality-wise as a main protagonist. As for the latter of our main cast, they are most definitely fun and interesting to observe, although I would like to see our main girl Charlotte use her abilities in a practical sense instead of always using it to prove the existence of her ability. To sum up, if you are looking for some fun, silly drama, then you can't go wrong with Charlotte. 3. Gate is a fantasy anime that gives birth into the convergence of the ordinary with the fantasy to put those what-if daydreams into practice of coexisting with mages, elves, witches, and such. The anime so far has been nothing but a setup for easing us into this unique world whilst we explore it with our main characters of the military. What's interesting is how our main otaku protagonist for once isn't neither an adolescent teen nor an attractive female, or an obese man in his 30s. For once we have an actual adult otaku that I can feel realistically represents the traits of a modern otaku, with the exception of his untold combat experiences, which will hopefully be explained later on. So far the show is keeping its potential close to its chest. On the other hand, the battles seem incredibly grand, seeing the military working together with these fantasy characters, which is an unorthodox mix that is indeed refreshing and different to most fantasy anime. 2. Prison School had the hype orbiting around the season, and so far it has delivered with its outrageous comedy and belittling the only 5 male students at an all-girls school that recently opened up to males. The setting of suspending the students within a prison at the school sets up and fuels the comedy tenfold, especially when it comes down to being disciplined by the student council whilst exposing their buttocks and bosoms. The drawback to the series, I find, is the ecchi and lackluster of main female characters. The ecchi is a bit tricky to critique, especially especially when strobes of white light practically blanket the entire screen, making the erotic and some of the funny moments all the more anticlimactic. The female cast are pretty generic, as most of them are oblivious to getting exposed, although you could argue that it could be pardoned given the ecchi nature of the anime. The guys, on the other hand, simply make matters worse, with their arousal taking priority over anything else. Overall, Prison School will definitely make you laugh out loud, and if not, you're lost. Gangster Has The Swag, an intriguing environment that is set up in this Amazon of prostitutes, gangs, mafias, druggies, and thieves. The show revolves around two handymen to get their hands dirty into the jobs that only they can do given their unique experiences. Nicholas and Warwick both cover each other's flaws so coherently, with the overwhelming power to tackle anything that comes their way. Nicholas of the two is exceptionally dominant with his swordsmanship, especially when in battle, as he tries to prolong encounters through handicaps given to his opponent, despite being deaf himself, which that in itself is a difficult character to engage the audience with, as Nicholas's actions ultimately is what makes him likable. Warwick, on the other hand, deals with the clients and the police they work for, and of course Warwick is no slouch when it comes to combat either, although from what I've seen I've still yet to see Warwick amaze me with his gunmanship. The show for sure definitely seems like a character driven show where you can simply enjoy anything the story throws at the duo. However, an overarching story that pushes the two at their limits would be greatly appreciated, as I somewhat feel that we need to see their breaking points and how they cope under pressure when shit gets real. So feel free to like and subscribe, as well as disagree with me on my list with your top 5 favorites for this summer season. I look forward to reading your responses, and I'll speak to you all in the next video. Farewell.